All right, it's time now for our Muni moment, and our next guest says that even if we enter a recession in 2024, U.S. municipalities are sitting on record levels of reserves and are well positioned to face those headwinds. Joining us now, I'm pleased to say we have Arlene Bohner. She is head of U.S. public finance over at Fitch Ratings. And Arlene, talk us through that a little bit. When you think about the levels of reserves that we have right now, how does that compare to other recessionary periods or potential recessionary periods?
Right. Thanks for having me, Katie. Whether we hit a recession or if we just hit some slower growth in 2024, that really remains to be seen. But as you mentioned, most of our public finance entities are in pretty good shape and well positioned to face those headwinds. We know that the slowing economic activity will result in slowing revenues for U.S. states and local governments. But most of them have spent this period of time post-pandemic paying down debt, and they're sitting on those really high levels of reserves that you referenced and rainy day funds that should help them weather the storm. And, you know, to your point, to a much higher level than pre-pandemic. For utilities like water and sewer and public power utilities, those headwinds that they were facing related to inflation and rising rates have eased a bit, but they've really just led to a new normal where utilities now have to account for higher costs across the board, and that may translate into rate increases in many cases.
And let's talk a little bit about the upgrade and the downgrade picture, because you point out in your notes that if you take a look over the third quarter, you actually had downgrades outpace upgrades. And this in particular caught my eye, that 6 of 8 sector outlooks are deteriorating right now. Sort of marry that together with the fact that you do have those record reserve levels, because those two sort of disparate facts seem to be at odds with each other.
So the 6 of 8, so the local governments are the ones that I was talking about that have the higher levels of reserves. So local governments and states have a lot of reserves. We are still thinking that we are going to have neutral credit conditions for them going into 2024. In 2023, we were anticipating that we would be hitting recession in 2023. So when we had those 2023 outlooks set, we were anticipating a different macroeconomic condition than what we actually hit. We have had an uptick in downgrades, but still relatively balanced. Downgrades were slightly outpacing upgrades in the third quarter, and many of those were related to the U.S. sovereign downgrade. There were a couple of linked ratings that needed to be lowered when we lowered that rating as well.